The famous tin mining heritage, which West Devon and Cornwall still bear the scars of today, is an almost impossibly old institution. From the start of the Bronze Age, around 2000 BC, the first Cornish tin deposits would have been exploited by traders from Brittany, northwest Spain and Ireland. The ancient Greeks write of Cornish tin. It was extracted from the earth here all the way through the Iron Age with the Romans, the medieval with the Normans, all the way up until 1998, when the last mine closed at South Crofty. The Cornish were some of the first people in Britain to interact and socialise with people from the outside. Early globalised trade, if you like. The Norman conquest of England from 1066 brought with it Anglo-Norman law, which superseded the old Anglo-Saxon law that had been in place since the 6th century. Modern-day Cornwall and Devon had been one Celtic kingdom called Dumnonia, but by the time of the Normans, Devon was considered England, and Cornwall something else. Not necessarily another country, but foreign nonetheless. A Celtic bastion. Well, what could the Normans do but tax them disproportionately? The tin mining areas of Devon and Cornwall paid a tax known as coinage. This was rendered unto the king in the form of smelted tin. The Cornish were to pay almost twice what was levied on the Devon miners. Eventually, under the new Norman legal system, King John granted a royal charter in 1201, which formally acknowledged the stannaries, derived from the Latin stannum for tin. This charter created separate stannary parliaments for Devon and Cornwall, affirming the ancient rights of tinners. The laws freed the miners from the constraints of feudal serfdom, and meant they were exempt from common taxes, although the stannary still had its own tax system. The Lord Warden of the stannaries also became the sole magistrate with jurisdiction over them, and they were exempt from being called to provide labour for local lords. A member of the parliament was called a stannator. Cornwall was divided into 4 stannary areas: Tywarnhale, Blackmore, Foymore and Penwith. These were administered from designated stannary towns, Truro, Lostwithiel, Helston and Launceston, which were ordered to elect 6 members of parliament each, to sit at the Cornish stannary parliament, which had been sited at Lostwithiel. The stannaries had the power to pass laws which had effect over all of Cornwall, and they could also veto laws from Westminster that affected them. In Devon, Dartmoor was the centre of tin mining, and the 4 stannary towns here were Chagford, Ashburton, Tavistock and Plympton. Again, each was to elect 6 stannators, for a total of 24. Unlike the Cornish stannary, which met in a building in Lostwithiel, the Devon stannary parliament chose Croker and Tor as their meeting place. Now, as far as tours go, this one's not the most impressive you'll ever see, but it just so happens that it's the central point between the 4 Devon stannary courts. In 1305, Edward I granted a further charter which cemented the tinners' immunity from the other English courts for all pleas except those of land, life and limb. In 1337, the Duchy of Cornwall was established, and the stannaries fell under the duchy's jurisdiction. In 1496, Henry VII's son Arthur, acting as Duke of Cornwall, tried to remove some of the autonomy from the stannaries and centralise power within the new Tudor monarchy. The Cornish resisted, leading to the king closing the stannaries and stopping legal tin mining completely. Rebellion ensued, and in 1497 the Cornish men, led by Michael and Gough, actually fought Henry's troops all the way to London before being beaten. The stannaries were allowed to open 9 years later. Throughout the 14 and 1500s, the stannary courts sat regularly, chiefly concerned with mediating the business of tin mining in the southwest. The Devon stannary passed new enactments for the last time in 1600, as the growing landowning class increasingly predominated over matters of tin mining. The convocation sat for the last time in 1748. During the 1970s, on the heels of renewed interest in Cornish nationalism, attention was turned to the old stannary courts. It was discovered that the stannary charters had never actually been withdrawn, meaning these are England's oldest surviving laws, and opening up the possibility of the ancient rights of these courts to be exercised again. As of yet, no serious attempts to revive the stannary courts have surfaced, although a Lord Warden of the stannaries is still appointed, and Plympton even still appoints stannators, although these act more like mayors now than MPs.